This is the so-called Diet building.
Diet is the Western term that is used to describe Japan's legislature, Japan's parliament. And of course, it has a history as long as modern Japan. The Diet opens up for the first time in 1890, the year after a new Western-style constitution is set up in Japan in 1889, which provides for a two-housed parliament with an upper house and a lower house, and ushers in, on the one hand, the start of a representative government to some degree, and gradually over the course of the first half of the 20th century, both the number of people who are able to vote for members in the lower house and who are able to stand as a candidate for the lower house gradually increases. By 1925, Japan does have universal male suffrage. And so, on the one hand, it's a symbol of how, in fact, democracy is part of Japan's story for much of the period, for all of the periods that we've been looking at through these images.
Is Koizumi at all cynical in what he says here? He says, late on a winter's day, the new Diet building shimmers like a mirage in a golden haze. It almost sounds like he's questioning
It's so, he's I don't know what he's referencing here. So this is a new building for the Diet being created in this period. You can see it's almost reminiscent of the American Capitol building. Mm-hmm. It's a very, if you look at it closely, it's the building that we still have today, stark, neoclassical, very blocky building. And by the time people were looking at this image in 1934, it was seen as, by its critic, as den of corrupt politicians who are allied with capitalist leaders of major industrial conglomerates, who are allied with government officials to oppress people. And this critique came from across the political spectrum, from the left to the radical right. There was a sense that liberal democracy in Japan, certainly by 1934, wasn't doing nearly as much as it should. And so 2 years later, you see the coup attempt by the army officers.
Let's not forget where the artist is standing, or where he is positioning the viewer. He's standing on a bridge. He's standing on a bridge that is the southern entry to the imperial palace, the gate of the Sakura Damon, the site of several political assassinations, and indeed, 2 years hence, your revolting army will be standing along this bridge. It's a natural perspective because you're looking across the water on the moat, but you're also looking at this building. So when you mention, Hirmo, the already perceptions of political culture, if there's anything cynical in this, it's the perspective that the artist chooses. We've gotten rid of corruption before, we can get rid of it again, is built into this. Where else would you look at the Diet from, really, if you sought out all the possible perspectives for depicting it?
What is emerging at this time is a sense that parliamentary politics is corrupt, and you hear a lot of charges about money politics. And what you are getting is the extreme right wing and the left wing, socialist, communist, and they are both criticizing the center. And in fact, we say left, right. What will happen eventually is many of the left will just swing over to the right. They are both radical critiques of the status quo. The parliament becomes very much eventually a rubber stamp, something that is not entirely unknown to other countries. But it functions with elections, elected prime minister, elected through the parliament, and so on, right through to the end of the war.